Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Yeah.
Wow, you didn't even let me get GnWC Weekly out. That's fantastic.
What's going on?
I'm the Duke. He's Angry Larry. It's actually Thursday, literally Thursday, the 20th, and we're going to get this thing rolling. And Larry, you normally have some news and notes for us. Can we start with the gaming news, since we are the Game and Wrestling Connection?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it just so happened, it's nice that we delayed this week because we got some really cool gaming news today. The Nintendo Switch, formerly known as the, what were people calling it?
NX?
The NX was the internal name for it. And I got to say, I'm really excited about it. Your thoughts?
Mixed bag. Do you want to give your thoughts first?
Why
you're excited?
Yeah, so I had a PS4 for a while, and I've been playing PC games for the past 10 years now. More than that, but more seriously for the past 10 years. And I could just never bring myself to buy a console. Well, when the next gen came out and, you and I started talking about doing wrestling related stuff, I'm like, all right, 2K16. And 2K16 wasn't that fun.
I actually think it was 15. I think we've been talking for so long.
Well, no, it was the 16 launch was when I tried to get
15 on
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it was the 16 launch when I decided, I'm going to get a PS4. We're going to do this custom universe and have all this cool stuff. And then 2K16. No, you're right. It was 15.
Yeah.
And then 15 had they had stripped out all the customization from it, and so
they were we'll just get it on PC when it comes out on PC.
Yeah, and that was way too complicated. And then we're like, 2K16, and no, that wasn't that exciting. It had some of the customization back, but anyway. So my PS4 sat in my office most of the time, and we had moved it into our living room at one point to sort of be a DVD player / my PS4, and I don't know, it just barely got used, I guess, is the really short version of what I've made a long story. And I always thought, I really like the remote play idea behind PS4, but I would have to buy a Vita. I'd have to buy more hardware to pull that off, and I don't want a Vita. Not hating on the Vita, I just didn't want to buy another piece of hardware when I already had a piece of hardware that was just kind of sitting there. And I would occasionally play it, but I just defaulted back to my PC because I sit at my desk and I can play a game, I can look at the internet, I can do a lot of things at one time. Whereas with a game console, with any game console, even with the Nintendo Switch, I can't just, you're just on the console. No matter how many features they add to it where you can tab out or whatever, it's still, you're just on a console. Well, fast forward to today's news with Nintendo Switch. I love the fact that you can just take your game with you. And I'm sure a lot of people think that's gimmicky, but I like that they're going to make games and optimize games that you can essentially take the game with you, and you can sit down with a friend who has a Nintendo Switch, and you guys can play against each other or play cooperatively or whatever. I just love the grab and go idea behind it, but then you can still sit on the couch and play if you want to. I like that idea, and I think that's what they were going for with the Wii U, but obviously they didn't actually make it mobile, and so now they've kind of moved forward with that. So that's what I like about it. I like that I can essentially, from what they're showing, I can essentially play it anywhere. Now there is one con to the whole idea of it, well, to Nintendo in general, that I'll let you voice your stuff, and then I'll tell you that, and then I'll be done with my portion of this.
Yeah, I might fill in your holes here. For me,
sure.
It's a mixed bag because of the sour taste in my mouth from the Wii and the worst one from the Wii U. To me, their library matters. Their gaming matters. They showed some games. It looked like a new Mario game. It looked like Mario Kart 8, which they already had. We already knew about that Zelda Breath of the Fire game or whatever it was, what's titled. They showed Skyrim. Skyrim's 5 years old. If that's going to be like a major focal point launch title, and they showed 2K17, I think it was. So, okay, I get how they showed the games and what they represented, the multiplayer to play with friends, the amazing quality of it, stuff like that. Their library is going to matter. That's the big
Yeah,
thing.
that was my thing, which
Yeah,
Nintendo is notorious for, just not having enough games to satisfy your
they did.
sure whatever appetite,
Yeah,
I guess.
they did release a big like poster of vendors they're working with, so to speak. All the people they are working with, all the people that are going to produce stuff on the Nintendo Switch. So that's it's a step in the right direction for Nintendo becoming this like console again. But here's my thing. They have that take on it where it's like people play on the go. People want to play on the go. People want to sit next to other people playing this thing and share data, share a Pokemon or whatever, like whatever their hybrid thing is. That's Japan. Japan does that. United States doesn't do that. United States, that falls flat in the United States. United States wants Americans want consoles that are consoles, not consoles that are hybrid handhelds that you bring over to somebody's house or collaborate in a central area, like, five people playing together on the bus to work. That's America doesn't have that. Maybe because the technology is not there. Maybe they could have it. But the thing is, they're developing this stuff for Japan and then selling it in America. The whole motion control stuff too. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff Nintendo had fell flat in America when it thrived or was moderately successful in Japan. I said the library matters. It's kind of cool how the controllers detach from the whatever your centralized device. Let's call it the remote. So you slide both sides of the controller onto your remote. You can take them both off, put them on the screen, pull it out of the Nintendo like it's a toaster, and take it around with you. That's all cool too. It's very cool that the games are a cartridge, because I am also sick, and I've heard reviews, and I'm kind of stealing this idea, but it's the same thought process I've had as well. I'm sick of buying Blu-ray DVDs as games and having to wait like a half an hour for them to install and update.
Yeah,
Like it's on the freaking CD.
yeah,
Just update. So there's a solid state drive somewhere. I don't think the solid state drive is in the game. I think the solid state drive's in the system. So I don't know how that's going to work. I'm kind of curious about the controller, because the one thing that's really cool about it is if I have it as a handheld with me, you can detach the side controllers, and each person can use a side like it's a controller.
right.
So that looked pretty cool. Like you bring it over to somebody's house, or you just have it, and you just take each side of the controller, and you both use it as a controller. So that's pretty cool as well. It looked like they had a plus and minus button on the controllers. I don't know what that's going to be used for. A share button, which is kind of like standard now to like pull up Twitch or whatever, share it on YouTube, whatever. I'm sure Nintendo's going to have its own sharing platform as well. And it looks like they have a D-pad style button that's not really like a D-pad, but it's kind of like the Nintendo 64 controller where it had those four yellow buttons on the side, the
Right.
C button, I guess they called
Yeah,
it.
the C buttons. Yep.
Yeah. And so it looked like that. So it's a very mixed bag, but the overall thing is, I need content. I need a library. I don't need games that are like the problem with the Wii for me is a lot of the games were cartoony. They were gimmicky. They were kind of garbage. They were kind of like junk toy in the dollar store-ish kind of games for me.
I get what you're
That
saying.
that relied on the gimmick of the motion controller.
Sure.
I want fully functional AAA titles,
Yep.
and I want indie games that I can download as well.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you on that. The library matters. I will say and that was my big down, because that is Nintendo's reputation for the past 10 years to not really have a library. And yeah, so there's that. One more positive to cap it all off, for me at least, is the name Switch. To me, is a marketing, like it's so simple and it's so direct that I got to be honest, after Wii and Wii U, I'm extremely impressed and surprised that Nintendo came up with Switch. Because they're
Yeah.
saying switch to our system. You know, there's all the switching
It's
of
a double entendre.
yeah. There's all the switching of what you can do with the thing. You know, you can switch to mobile, you can switch to this, you can switch to that, you can switch to multiplayer, you can switch to co-op, whatever. Like there's all the sort of based on the system stuff, but then there's also the marketing aspect of it. Of well, I know you're playing PS4. Why don't you switch? I know you're playing Xbox One or whatever the next thing is for both of those systems. I think it's time you should switch. You know, it's really smart. It's extremely smart. So
Yeah.
hopefully that
Switch,
translates into the library side of things too, where they surprise us there.
And Switch being a whole part of like the whole like they're switching the console perception where it's like,
right.
why can't you have a handheld and
the
home
conceptual
console in one?
Yeah.
Here's like, if we're saying yay or nay, you seem like you can go yay. I'm going to go nay, only because I heard somebody, Max Christensen, Maximilian dude of Yo Video Games, big streamer on Twitch, big fighting game community guy, gave his reactions today, and I watched it. And the one thing he said that really struck it with me was like, it's like the system is just like we've done it already. This one's just a little bit better.
Oh yeah, so, like, people were saying, you know, the NVIDIA Shield, which what is it? NVIDIA Shield, and what was the other example people were giving? I forget. That was was one of the big ones
within Nintendo, because the Wii U was a solid console, and people, it was a solid console that nobody like recognized, like no one cared to even play, because it had a good library of games. It had some really good games, but it sold like crap because it was basically the Wii. So now here we have the Nintendo Switch, which is basically the Wii U, except it has the portable aspect of it. So it's kind of like your Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo kind of thing, and not like the Street Fighter 3. And that's my analogy. That wasn't his analogy.
Sure, I like it.
But
I get it. Yeah.
Library.
Yeah. So if you see that day one or within a month of launch, they're going to have like an actual library that includes new AAA games and maybe even some exclusives, then maybe you're more on board at that point.
They have to nail They have to nail the exclusives. They have to be like, all right, Final Fantasy 16 is coming out on this. Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out on this. They can't just be like, all right, we'll have 2K17. All right, every other platform has 2K17. All right, we're going to have Skyrim. Okay, well, I had Skyrim 5 years ago on every platform. You know, they've got to be like, well, they're going to hit their Super Nintendo, the Super Mario. They're going to hit the Zelda. We already know that. They're going to do the Mario Kart and probably a follow-up to Mario Kart. But this Mario Kart looks like it's going to be the old version, just rebuffed. They're going to have their Pokemons. They're going to have their Splatoons because they were popular and successful. But they have to bring out big titles.
Sure.
And big titles are a hard thing because big titles are going to be across multiple platforms. Then there's no reason to buy the Switch because we already have the PS4. We already have the Xbox One. Or even on PC. So why are we getting the Nintendo if we're not a fan of Super Mario, Pokemon, Mario Kart, Mario Party, you know, all those things?
Yeah, they've got to have some trump cards. And that is not a political reference.
Yeah, so nail it with like Kingdom Hearts 3. Nail it with like friggin' bring back Soul Calibur. Bring back, like, try to find a way. Work with Capcom had that thing with Street Fighter 5 with PS4, like exclusive, except it's, you know, it's on PC as well. They have to work with a publisher to bring back like Mega Man. You know, if they can bring back Mega Man.
If they can bring back Mega Man, yep, that's a big deal.
You know, so they got to bring back like a huge title exclusive for the Switch and keep up with their own stuff and have their own stuff be relevant.
I want to see a new Metroid.
That's another one that people are clamoring for. You know, Nintendo has its own IP.
Yeah,
that's underutilized. Capcom has
that's
a
fantastic.
IP
honestly,
yeah. Capcom has a huge IP that's underutilized. I don't know what their deal with Street Fighter Five does with exclusivity for like Capcom titles being exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, but it's a business, so I can't really think that one pockets in the other, one publishing, developing, company. I don't even know how it works, so I'm not even going to try to speculate. But we both agree, like library will matter. So let's build this thing up. It's coming out pretty soon.
March.
6 months.
March. Yeah. Yeah.
5 months.
I'm on board for now, unless you're not on board unless they show you something. I'm on board unless they do something stupid. So like we're both on like right up against the fence on opposite sides at the moment.
Listen, I want to be on board because I want to own and play games on every console. It's just I know I've had the Wii and the Wii U, and Super Mario Maker aside, because I really haven't even touched that game, and that's the reason I got the Wii U. They don't have a game that I want to shove into either system and just play it to hell. My Wii is basically my original RetroPie that I made for emulation. And then the Wii U is just like, well, I bought it for Super Mario Maker, but I never played it. So,
well, dude, the Game and Wrestling Connection just talked about games for a while. Let's get to the wrestling. What you got, Larry?
Well, I don't really have much news. I mean, Paige underwent successful surgery for her neck. She has pins in her neck. She'll be out of action for a while. WWE Monday Night Raw took Paige out of their opening montage. So let's continue this drama and struggle. TNA seems to be on the cusp, and not cusp, but they scheduled a taping for 2017. They just recently wrapped up tapings that will bring them through the end of the year, and then they're going to do a taping at the Matt Hardy compound, is what they call it. So their TV's solid through the end of this year already, and they're already scheduling tapings for 2017. So, let's get the office pool going again to see when TNA will be in financial trouble in 2017. American Express is suing them. Like a lot of things are coming out of the woodwork. But did we talk about Billy Corgan last week? I don't even think we did. Billy Corgan's suing them.
Yeah, he is, and then he's not because Fight Network is going to pay him off, or there's all this different stuff. It's weird. At this point, I don't know what's true. It's like all you can go by is what's public record, and even Corgan's thing with the whole restraining order, or however you put a restraining order on a company. I don't even get that, but whatever's going on with that's sealed, so you don't even know why it's happening, like how that applies to anything. So I don't know. It's one of those, until we know, that's when we'll know what's really going on. So let's just hope there's still the indirect pressure on WWE by someone else being on TV. There's nothing, whether you watch TNA or not, and I'm as guilty as anybody for not watching it, but I don't hate on it. I probably did at some point, but I realize the value. Yeah, sure.
We all do, even if we want to like it it or loved it. It's the state of the company. It's like they have
exactly.
things, and then it's
constant
like
turmoil.
Right. It's from the management to the outside management to like the internal booking. It's just like they're never doing something right. They're always doing something like extremely ridiculously wrong. And
and for all the hate WWE will get about not pushing the envelope in certain areas, or certain people not getting opportunities, so on and so forth. For the most part, the most of the sentiment you get from there is positive. Guys who leave on bad terms, it's interesting how all of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are where your negative comes from. But even some of them who have left on, not necessarily bad terms, but essentially negative terms, like Matt Seidel, aka Evan Bourne. If you ever hear him talk about WWE, he talks about the creative process a bit, but other than that, he was pretty happy with his time there, and seems pretty gracious about the terms he left on.
That's like the greatest segue ever.
Yeah.
Matt Seidel was arrested in Japan for possession of marijuana.
Speaking of the terms he left on.
So his status with New Japan Pro Wrestling is pretty up in the air because they don't tolerate that stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, Japan doesn't tolerate it, so New Japan
Yeah,
can't. So
yeah.
yeah,
But that's pretty much it. I wasn't even going to say that because I forgot all about it until you mentioned his name.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, just basic
It's
wrestling.
more and more legal here, so I'm not going to hate on anybody for marijuana, but yeah, you got to be smart about it if you're making a living in a country that doesn't allow it and is that strict about it, then you don't need to be bringing it into the country. But
Yeah, the one thing that might get him a little bit of slack is the amount of pain he's in.
yeah,
I'm sure people use that as an excuse to get card to legally own it and stuff like that. Same way that people use screw the system for a food stamp card or like any abusive thing
or
where if you
even
can get
like Oxy
yeah
and stuff like that. So
yeah oh there you go, there's an even better example. So like they might get a little bit of it, and then the most interesting piece of news I've read is the fact that Cody Rhodes was interviewed about the NXT Dusty Rhodes Classic, and like the overall feeling of the interview was like, hey, listen, I haven't gotten a call about being there presenting the trophy. For all I know, for all I care, Dustin, and Dakota can hand out the trophy, and it's cool. It's about the man, not about whatever else. He's like, but if they called me, I'd listen.
yeah, that's
And
cool.
in the interview, he was very humble about, listen, I'm never saying never. My time at the present time was over, but stuff like that. So it's nice to hear people leave the company who are like bitter and angry and have a chip on their shoulder and stuff like that. And then like you get their interview a couple months later and they're just like, you know, I don't want to call it backpedaling because the career choice he made might be bankrupt in like a month, but at the same time, like I felt like the interview was genuine and it was pretty cool. So
Yeah,
that's
and
about
even
it.
in the ones where he's made, he hasn't been like, super Shootsville or anything like that, but he has said that it was a two-way street, that they didn't have anything for him, but he put some of that on himself, that he didn't show them that he was worthy of them having something for him. So he took it, even with the jabs he made at a few people and so on and so forth. He did sort of say, hey, it's, I'm willing to admit it's as much on me as it is on anybody else. Maybe I should have not stuck with Stardust as long as I did, and they wouldn't have seen me as that guy or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah, that was part of the interview as well. But he's like, yeah, it was a
that's
pretty
cool.
refreshing interview to read. So let's talk about the week of, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Do you
week
not want to?
week
We could talk
week
about something else. I mean, let's talk about
of
Vicky the
what?
Robot and Small Wonder or something. But all right. What do you think of Raw overall?
That's fine. The ending was, I think, way better than people expected. I think Goldberg really, really messed with people's heads by being by looking as good and being as passionate as he was, for someone that everyone is convinced he hated wrestling and just did it for the money, so on and so forth. Well, I feel like he, to an extent, proved that wrong on Raw. But
I will say that was one of the better, if not best, like in ring promo I've seen from a retired, not retired,
sure,
um, gone from the company, not gone from the company type of situation, or returnee, so to speak, after many years absent. It was pretty good. It was passionate. It was delivered well.
yeah,
I like the little tease about like not fighting Lesnar. Then he just turned that around. He's like, I forget how he worded it, but he teased he wasn't going to fight Lesnar, and then like two sentences later, just like did the 180, and then just
yeah.
like at the
Well, and he like flipped the switch. It was really cool.
yeah, and then like the pacing of the promo was really good,
Yeah,
really good. I liked it.
and I know we want to get on some other stuff, and we don't want to just stay on the end of the show too long. But I will say, so a couple of things I've seen people say, and I'm like, wow, that's very poignant. One big thing that people talked about, that I saw several people talking about, was you got to see Goldberg the man, because we've always seen the myth and the legend. We've always seen the monster, but you kind of got to see the man. You got to see why he wanted to be back in the ring. You know, that he wanted, you know, he missed being a superhero, and we're in a day and age where that's rare. Even though we see superhero this, superhero that, like seeing what amounts to a real life superhero in professional wrestling, you don't see it as much anymore. And it came across extreme. I mean, he said that in interviews before now, so it's consistent with with the image he's presented long before Raw. That was a cool thing. And then the other thing that looking into the camera. So I don't want to spend too long on this, but man, there's something to be said for a wrestler just staring right into the barrel of the lens and talking to not just the TV audience, but talking to whoever he's talking to. So in this case, Brock. He knows Brock is watching, or he's at least, or that's at least the message he's getting across is, I know you're watching me, and this message is for you. And it's not just for Brock's benefit; it's for the TV audience. But he did it so masterfully, like it blows my mind how well Bill did several things, and that's a big one because he didn't get just in the camera. He would get in the camera for a while and make some really good points, especially when he was talking directly to Brock. But then he would peel off dramatically so that the audience there knew that he was still with them. He wasn't just in la camera land. So, I mean, people can learn a lot from that. WWE in general could learn a lot from what happened in that promo, in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked his interaction with the fans at ringside, walking down to the ring, walking back up the ring. The thing that I really didn't like about it, and it's because of the promo, is the reason why I didn't like it. The whole "you're last." Man, I just don't want to see one more match with Goldberg. I want to see a run. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, that's the only thing I really didn't like taken away from it. Just like a one-off, kind of situation. I'm like, oh man. Because, like, what's going to happen? I mean, like, did they build Brock Lesnar up to be this ultra monster for just Goldberg to come back and beat him? That's probably not the case.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be just... Well, there's the idea that there's one blemish on Brock's record. One guy who beat Brock, but Brock never beat. That's the idea behind the one blemish, is that, yeah, sure, people have beaten Brock before, but then he's gotten his revenge. He's beaten them. And he never got that on Goldberg. So that's the story that's being told.
Brock is the 2015, 2016, soon to be 2017 NWO, where it's just like, we're just going to put him over and over and over and over and over, and we just don't know where the end is.
Yeah, eventually he's got to put somebody over, right? Right? That's where... That's where I am with him at the moment.
And like, either end of the spectrum, if he beats Goldberg, then it's like, well, why did I even care Goldberg came back? If Goldberg comes and beats him, it's like, well, why did Brock run roughshod just to get to this? So it's kind of like a situation where it's like, well, we got like kind of like the first Goldberg Lesnar match, or where it was like both guys left the company right after the match, right? It was that those two. That's what happened, right?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're right. But I'm not gonna say this to his face or anything. So hopefully I never actually see him in person. But who's the problem in that scenario? In what you just described, who's the problem?
I don't know.
It's not Goldberg. It's Brock.
I mean, yeah, but
or it's how he's been built.
People are writing the story of Brock being Brock right now.
Yeah,
they're certainly making him over. It's not Brock Lesnar coming in and just like being like, I'm winning. It's like, no, we really want Dean Ambrose to go, no, I'm winning or I'll walk. Like, I don't think that's the situation, because I don't think WWE would really even tolerate that. They'd just be like, all right, well, we're a company that fired Hulk Hogan. We're a company, just see you later. We make Brock Lesnar's every decade. we'll make another one. We have another one, kind of thing. So I don't
Yeah.
think he's really like strong arming anybody, but at the same time, it's just like, well, to really ultra nitpick this, and if it's Bill Goldberg's last match, well, then it's his last match in a losing effort. Because hell, be damned if Brock Lesnar is going to lose to Goldberg and then ruin the last 3 years of story, or Goldberg, or Brock Lesnar wins, and it's like, oh well, hey, what's the point?
Thanks for
Why?
coming
Why?
back to promote the video game. That's what it is
Why?
at that
Yeah.
point.
Why didn't Goldberg come in to fight Rusev?
Bill DeMott.
Bill DeMott. There you go. Sure, Bill DeMott would have humbled him. I think Bill DeMott was 75 losses in that streak. Anyway,
He was the first.
he was the first, and he was quite a few. I can tell you that. But other things in Monday Night Land, we finally got something with Braun Strowman on the record, and it's Sami Zayn, and I don't know. Braun has gone through every jobber they've thrown at him. He's gone through Sin Cara, relative jobber they've thrown at him. Then he started did the Ryback thing. He's beating 2 people. Now he beat 3 people. And then he finally said he's going to come into the back for the locker room for a real challenge. And Sami Zayn came out. So where does Braun go with the Sami Zayn thing? What do you think?
I'm intrigued. I will say you had my curiosity and now you have my attention. I'm intrigued by it. I think I suspect Braun wins. I say that with a giant, like huge question mark.
Oh, he absolutely wins, and maybe what happens is he goes after Roman Reigns after this.
Well, I will say though, I say Braun wins, and but it can't just be a squash match. It's got to be like something. There's got to be something to it. So, and if anybody can pull a, and I'm not saying he needs a good match pulled out of him. I mean, he needed to be in the ring with someone, so you had to build him up as someone first. So I get it, but it's I could see he and Sammy having a great match, and I hope they are working towards having a great match, and they will have time to have a great match. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, Sammy's the perennial underdog, the guy who gets beat up and never stays down. So it's kind of a good fit, but then all things lead to like, well, where? And that's been my big problem with wrestling, I think, in general, is because since the brand split, my mind is always like, well, okay, it could be the greatest match in the world, but my mind's always working. Okay, well, where does this lead? Where does it lead me? It leads me to a rematch on Raw. It leads me to a rematch on the pay per view. Where does he go from here? Where do they go from here? And I think it's kind of intriguing to have Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns at this point. So I think
Sure.
maybe we'll get there at like TLC. Is that a Raw pay per view? I think that's a Raw pay per view in December. One of them is TLC. One of them is Battle Roadblock, maybe.
TLC, I'm pretty darn sure is SmackDown. I'll verify though.
Okay. Wherever the case may be, it'd be nice to see Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman come of this, and we'll go from there. How about, man? They're gonna do it, aren't they? They're gonna break up Jericho and Owens.
They are. I had that in my notes.
Jericho is going to be the next contender for the title, and I get it. I really get it. They need people. We've talked about this. On top, you have Rollins and Owens, and who else is going to break to the top in that main event role? Well, you got the other title on Roman Reigns. It's not going to be him. Owens is your heel. So really, what does that leave anybody else in the company to do? Well, I guess if you turn Jericho and Owens against each other, Jericho comes off as the super babyface to Owens' heel, and then now you're set for a couple more months while I don't know, while Finn Balor makes a miraculous recovery, while maybe Samoa Joe shows up. I don't know. Raw needs Samoa Joe, SmackDown doesn't, but Samoa Joe and SmackDown would be better for me as a fan.
I agree.
Just based on the talent. I don't know, because you can have Lesnar run with the title again, but how are you going to leapfrog it off of Owens? I guess Lesnar is then going to be like the fan favorite at that point. He kind of is anyway. So it's like a lot of like I really wanted the brand split, but now that I have the brand split, I'm just like, man, these are just like ultra small tiers of hierarchy, and there's very few people that kind of can cross between like mid card to main event right now.
Yeah.
What do you see main event wise, like Rollins and Owens this month? Next month we're going to take off. We're going to be Survivor Series, so maybe they'll just be involved in the Survivor Series match, which would be cool. I'd love for all the big guys, the big superstars, to do it, and not like the superstars minus the champions and challengers. Do you see Jericho versus Owens next?
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to jump to it that quick.
Who else is in the
I'd love
mix?
for it to be a swerve though, where they keep saying they're going to they're going to play against each other, and then eventually they just turn it around. That would be nice.
Oh, like they worked everybody the whole time.
Yeah.
I would love that. I mean, that keeps them together. Then
yeah, anything that keeps them together, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do. I mean, it kind of seems with the way it seems to be hammered down with Jericho and Owens breaking up. It's it seems like he would be next. And let's be honest, or I'm going to be honest with myself. I don't hate Rollins kind of going babyface now, but man, he's like I've never found him that compelling on the mic.
He's not doing it for me
in general. Even when people were like, "Oh, he's such a great heel," it still felt a little cardboard for me. So now when there's less edge, it's kind of I don't know. I feel like other people are seeing it now.
When you were talking about Goldberg's passion and working the camera and everything, like Rollins was on my mind. I'm like, he's a guy who just doesn't do this. He's a guy that doesn't work the camera. He doesn't make me invested in the promo. When you were like, WWE can learn a lot. The guys in WWE can learn a lot from that promo. I'm like, yeah, like Rollins was first on my list.
Yeah, and let's I don't want to sidebar too bad here, but let's connect a dot here. Someone else who does that really well, The Miz. And like the amazing promo on Talking Smack, what did Miz do? He said, "Come here, give me that. Come here," and he got the camera on his face.
Right at him. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And I think the thing you get, the major common ground that you have between Goldberg and Miz is both of these guys have done movies. Whether they've been big movies or not, they've done movies, and they know and yeah, you don't look in the camera when you're doing a movie, but they know how important it is once you do look in the camera, and how
promos should start taking a step in the Office Parks and Recreation kind of format, where because it's just talking with microphones in front of their face, whether it's in the ring or up the ramp to in the ring, it's just two dudes talking. Like they should totally just do the overreaction shot at the camera when the other person says something, to make it a little bit more I don't know, interesting.
Yeah, just more entertaining. But again, back on both guys, Goldberg and The Miz, the biggest thing is they're talking to the audience at home. I mean, especially, more so with The Miz, but Goldberg is talking to Brock because Brock's not in the ring. So where is Brock? Well, the only place that you can lock eyes with Brock is if you lock eyes with the camera. So it's amazing that so many guys will cut a promo, and we're back on Rollins again. Like Rollins will cut a promo and he does the nice little sanitized, I'm not going to look at the camera because this is a TV show thing. And he, along with everyone else who does that, it's killing their character. It just kills your character to just never make a connection with the people who are watching the TV. And that's why, I mean, I'm not saying it's specifically because of Rollins, because I'm sure this is an edict from on high that, hey, we're a TV show. This is sports entertainment. You don't look at the camera. But guess what? You're losing people, and it shows in your numbers that you're losing people. So maybe you need to do more to connect with people at home, and that's a really simple thing to do. Just stare the camera down.
And I tell you what, Raw is losing me a little bit because I'm looking at the lineup, and I really didn't care for Raw too much. Bo Dallas versus Neville. Bo Dallas attacks Curtis Axel after the match. Big E versus Sheamus. You know, the whole tag team, every combination of the tag team fighting before the tag team fights kind of thing. And then you had Big Cass against Carl Anderson, so that's going to happen there too. Roman Reigns is confronting Rusev and Lana yet again. And then, you know, and then you had your Cruiserweight 6-man tag match. It's building up for Kendrick. Man, when TJ Perkins interviews, man, I just talk about like going downhill. And just like, and this is probably just my own personal opinion, and probably it doesn't, no one shares it. But like, just the TJ Perkins character on the main roster is just garbage. But TJ Perkins in the Cruiserweight Classic was like fitting.
Yeah.
And Brian Kendrick's character on the main roster is just exploded. Tony Nese, and I'm a Tony Nese guy, there's no doubt about it. But even Tony Nese and
But he's been great. He's been great.
Awesome. He's been the star. Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann, those guys have been the stars, those four. And then TJ Perkins was like, oh yeah, by the way, we have a champion, he's involved in this match. We gave him a video game, like, you know, we gave him a video game character as his gimmick, and he's going to just cram as many video game references down your face as possible. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, like, TJ Perkins is supposed to be like Xavier Woods, I guess.
I don't. He's coming across right now, and this is dumb that he's coming across this way, but he's coming across as, "Hello, fellow kids." That meme, you know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that meme, but he's really coming across that way. Even though he's a young guy and he can play that role, but they're not letting him. I don't know if they're not letting him or if he's not clicking. Yeah, it's gone.
And his little dab and his little motions like down the ramp, they're just not the same as his motions and dab that in the Cruiserweight Classic. Like when he came into the ring, he had this like aura about him. He came in, the hood would drop over his head. He, you know, snap the hood back up. He'd do his little thing. And I was like, all right. And then here he just kind of does it down the ramp. And I'm just like, wow, that's like kind of bad. It's kind of like not working in this environment. And
I mean, to be fair, they haven't done much to build him on the main roster. They're just
like I'm saying, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we have a champion. Here he is.
Yeah, that's exactly how they've treated him, which is weird. But anyway,
and they're totally blowing up Tony Nese and Rich Swann on commentary, and they're giving Brian Kendrick all the freaking glory in the world on the main roster. And I know I said this because he's been on the main roster before. He's the stable element of the Cruiserweight division. And, you know, now Sin Cara is in there. He wasn't around this week, though, but I'm not too sure about the Cruiserweight matches on main event, if they have any. We're going to get Neville in there, too, eventually. It's going to work its way that way. And, you know, and then, like, you know, Tony Nese, Gulak, Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, these guys will stay around. I'm worried about TJ Perkins' future in the company just because of the way they're treating him as their initial champion on day one.
Yeah.
Where he's just like not around.
Well, I mean, they didn't even show anything about him.
Well, they showed a little vignette.
No. I'm talking about before the first title defense. He wasn't on TV.
No, the first day of Raw had the Cruiserweights. He didn't have a match, but he had a vignette.
But still, he wasn't on TV. Right. I mean, he wasn't live on TV.
Yeah, right, exactly.
On a live show.
His first live thing was thing. Now, here's what I don't know. Like, he may have been wrapping up a commitment somewhere.
He could have been. He could have been. I mean, there could be real life reasons for this. It's just still baffling from a TV production standpoint.
So I don't know. And in Dana Brooke Bailey, it's kind of good, but you know, it's going to get overshadowed by Sasha and Charlotte. Now listen,
Getting
Sasha
every
and
first
Charlotte.
opportunity, by the way.
What's that?
I'm not hating on it, but and now the first this, and now the first that, and now the first. And by the way, TLC is SmackDown, so we won't have the
Okay.
first female ladder match
No,
with
well,
Sasha and Charlotte.
we have to upstage my brother because we're in competition, and we need the fans to like our product better than their product, even though
Right.
it's the same product with the same revenue going to the same places.
Right.
And we'll do our ladder match better than they do their ladder match.
Right.
But that's probably coming. But listen, I am not sold on their Hell in a Cell match because one, I always talk about this, and it's the same thing with like a Money in the Bank women's match. Like I'd like to see it, but then like I talk myself out of liking to see it because someone might get hurt, and I don't want that to sound sexist, but like, why even put him in a situation to get hurt?
Well, here's the thing: sexism or not, whatever somebody wants to call it or not, it's just a numbers game. If you look at it from a practical perspective.
Well, I'm not talking about that's the reason, like the ratio of men to women.
No.
The reason why we don't have cage matches and stuff like that.
No. Hang on. Let me hear me out just real quick. Who replaces Charlotte if she's gone?
Oh, numbers. Okay, that's ratio of men to women on the roster.
Yeah, but
very fewer women.
Yeah. It's just like who replaces Charlotte if she's gone? Who replaces Sasha if she's gone? They've got 4 people, and 2 of them they never put on TV, or they've got 6 or 7, whatever it is, and 2 of them they never put on TV, and then they've got one person returning who just came off of freaking back surgery, and you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's a numbers game, and so you put them in these dangerous matches, and I'm all for equality and everything like that, but how about we have equal number of women to men on the roster? If this is truly a women's revolution, then where are all the women? Like, where are they? Like, there's 4.
Right. Just because you
right
can
now.
do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah.
Now, this may be like the most amazing match ever, but if you think of it in terms of what the match meant, Hell in a Cell, No Escape, like one of the most brutal matches of all time. Are they going to be blading?
No, I mean,
are they going to be?
They're just going to be in a cage.
Bleeding? They're going to be. It's going to be a match in the cage where maybe Charlotte even does the Sasha Banks even does the I'm going to scrape Charlotte's face against the cage like her dad used to get done to him all the time.
Yeah, maybe
kind of the Ric Flair staple. But then nothing else is going to come out of it. It's going to be like that match, Ambrose versus Jericho, where they had all the stuff, the Insane Asylum match or whatever. They had all the stuff on the top. And okay, fine. We got to a thumbtack spot at the end of the match.
But they had to fight and fight and fight and fight and fight for that. And Jericho didn't actually want to do it. He wanted Dean to do it, but then Jericho was going, but then Dean was going over, so it didn't Jericho just said, okay, then it doesn't make sense for him to take the spot.
No, what I meant was the match really didn't matter.
Because, true.
All
true.
the objects they used once and then they dropped it on the ground. And the whole match was about them climbing to get another object.
Right.
So excluding the tax to end it, which kind of saved the match.
Yeah, true.
It's going to be 2 people wrestling inside of a cage.
True.
And a bigger cage. So it's not like a regular cage match would have done this match a little bit more justice. Because then they could have been slammed or thrown into the cage within the realm of the ring. Now they got to go outside the ring and slam somebody into the cage.
Right. Which the women rarely spend that much time outside the ring in general.
Right. So how is this match going to even be beneficial inside the cage? And
and again, the reasoning for it. Well, hang on. Go ahead. Finish because I want to piggyback on what you're saying because you're making really good points.
I just don't see a reason to have them in that match.
Well, and the reason was supposed to be, and you touched on it right at the beginning there. The whole point of Hell in a Cell is you can't get out. You're stuck in here with me, and we have to finish this. That's
both people wanted it.
Yeah, that's the concept of it. But what's happening with this is they're like, we just want to do something because we'll be the first ones to do it, and yay, let's matter of fact, let's sell Girl Scout cookies while we're there. It's just like, what's going on? It's just like you're not supposed to be excited about this match. You're
One person's
supposed to dread it.
the match because the other person's too cowardly to stay in the ring and settle matters.
Yeah.
But then we had the thing where they're both like, yeah, okay. And then they both attack Rusev. And then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, it's like, okay, well, we're enemies again. So I'm going to be friends with Rusev in that match.
Yeah. Well,
so
it's the anything you can do better song played out in wrestling is what it is.
And here's the thing. You said who replaces Charlotte. But let's say that someone in this match gets the whole, like, this match took their toll on this participant, and now this participant is going to be, like, off camera for a while. Well, you can rotate in Nia Jax. You can rotate in Emma. You can rotate in Bailey or Dana Brooke. So they have the pieces to rotate in for their flavor of the month A storyline or whatever you want to call it. And then, like, like I always say, like, they have 1.5 women's storylines per pay-per-view. Sure. Because sometimes we'll get 2 matches, sometimes we'll get 1. You can use this match to sell the fact that whoever lost,
they're done for a while.
Can't compete for a while and take them off camera. So if Sasha has something, because it's always like every other week, it's like, well, she's dealing with this and has to take time off. Oh, she's fine. She's dealing with this, and she's fine. I just worry about because they wrestle normal matches and wind up in that situation, or at least Sasha Banks winds up in that situation.
Yeah.
Now what's going to happen when they're going to have to step it up mentally? And like, because they know they got to do something special. Like, they're not idiots. I mean, they're the reason why they're on top is because they do things like this. They make stuff special, and they understand the psychological aspect of a wrestling match better than any woman has before, I would say. I just fear. Like, it's not like that I don't think they can pull it off, or I just don't want them to have this kind of match because I kind of fear that they're going to try to do something and it's like not going to work out well for one or both of them, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Don't want that to happen, though. We're not speaking that into
I don't want
the universe of existence.
No, that's not saying something where it's like I'm going to come back and be like, "Yep, see, told you I was right." No, I don't want anything like that. That's why I don't want the match. But otherwise, Raw was kind of like, it was kind of like a mixed bag of stuff. Like nothing. It was all building up on Goldberg.
Raw is moments, and it was all about that moment. And hey, it was a great moment. Goldberg was way better than I think anyone expected.
And of course, the Jericho Owens stuff was pretty good too. So
yeah. Oh well, one more shout out for Raw though. One more big positive, and this will transition us straight into SmackDown too. Denver, way to go! Denver was a fantastic crowd both nights. Great crowd both nights.
It was a pretty good crowd. So shall we talk about SmackDown?
Let's do it.
The almost debut of Kurt Hawkins. By the way, I see it now. I like Kurt Hawkins, NYWC guy. I'm going to support everything he does. His stuff makes me laugh.
Sure.
But that in-ring debut against Apollo Luz was kind of like everyone sit on their hands time. Let's go check the concessionaires time.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
I mean, I loved it because it's just funny.
Yeah, but it was still pretty rough. I laughed too. I got to admit, I laughed at some of the stuff, and I thought Apollo Luz was like, I don't know. I thought he was going to say Creed, and then Apollo was going to slap the taste out of his mouth type thing, and then he said lose, and I'm like, okay, that how did I miss that? But that's hilarious.
But he's growing on you because I can tell.
Sure,
week in,
sure.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think he's souring everybody, though.
Yeah.
In general. By the way,
us old guys, he's growing on.
Well, he's got Eva Marie's gimmick, so I guess he's got Eva Marie's hate when he comes out as well. It was pretty good. I don't understand the women's division. Do you want to talk about something on SmackDown? Do you want to talk about something that's like make up your mind kind of thing? Alexa Bliss. Are you Freddy Krueger? Are you Harley Quinn? Like, what are you? Like, can they just get her?
She does her ring gear stuff based on pop culture, and we're.
But it's like we're alternating now.
Yeah,
and then there are weeks where she's like nothing. If you want to stay in character and define a character for somebody, I mean, we have these gripes over men as well. It's like,
Sure.
what are you week to week? It's like, be somebody. Like, how can anybody relate or identify to you? The only thing is, she's the cute little girl. That's pretty much it. That sums up all of her stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, I
I got
mean,
you. I mean,
now she beat
we are 2 weeks away from Halloween.
now she beats
That is
Naomi. Well, I mean, the
relevant.
Harley Quinn stuff works for Halloween too. I'm sure that's gonna be like one of
Fair
the most
enough.
popular costumes this week.
Fair enough.
So Carmella and Nikki Bella have a shout fight. Carmella pretty much ignores the fact that everything's total divas and total Bellas exist, and Nikki Bella is kind of like, well, don't you watch TV? I don't hide the fact I'm with John. We have 2 freaking shows together. Like, obviously Carmella doesn't have cable. I didn't get that promo, by the way. Just on that standpoint, they made Carmella say all this stuff that just wasn't, that was true, but it wasn't true. Like,
Well,
you
it was
hide
sort
it.
of. I think it all comes down to what Nikki said at one point. Essentially calling her an internet bully, and that I feel like that's what it was. They just took lines off of social media for what people say about Nikki, and maybe even we've said at some point. And I about a year ago, right before Nikki left for a while, I had turned the corner on her, and I've gotten excited about seeing her back in the ring. But yeah, it was pretty long and drawn out, and seemed very. I won't take credit for coming up with this. I saw someone say something to the effect of, it was sort of like the middle school graduation play or something like that. Like the play you do as part of the celebration to move up to high school. It came across that way, where it's just like you're just getting through your lines, and yeah, there was some emotion and stuff, but they sort of stood at an angle, and would occasionally turn toward each other. It was very like, we're standing on a stage reciting lines. So anyway, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. So.
No, but they're also not defining, like, they have Alexa Bliss. She has a championship match. Oh, she loses Naomi on the pay-per-view. Oh, rematch. Now Alexa Bliss goes over on Naomi. It's falling into that 50-50 crap that we hated. Now it exists on the women's division. It's just like more out there because they're actually giving the women like 2 segments on Raw on SmackDown consistently. I just like, if Alexa Bliss is a reputable opponent for Becky Lynch this month, why did she even take the loss at the pay-per-view? Like,
Yeah, I still don't understand why that even happened.
Well, because they're making it so like we have the biggest competitive women's division ever, and like everyone's going to be a 50% winning percentage except for the champion. So any woman can win at any time and be the number 1 contender. And I kind of get it, and it's kind of works, but it kind of doesn't work at the same time, because I'm just like, at this point, when I see 2 people wrestle, I'm just like, all right, who won last time? All right, well, this person's going to win this time.
Well, I think Syndrome said it best, and WWE has for a while tried to stick with this mentality of everyone will be super, and then no one will be.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that right now with me. Baron Corbin versus Jack Swagger. I mean, these like matches are just like Randy Orton versus Luke Harper. I mean, it was kind of cool what happened in that match with Kane and the casket. But like, if Luke Harper is going to be this like reincarnation of the Undertaker and do all these gimmicky casket matches and all that stuff or whatever, and be like the dead man and be mysterious and disappear and stuff like that, I mean, he just doesn't have the 100% full-fledged support from the company for him to be that character.
Well, and part of that is win some, lose some, win some, lose some, win some, lose some. I mean, they do realize, I know he didn't win every single match he was ever in, but they do realize that Undertaker didn't lose at WrestleMania for 21 years, right? 21 years. 21 years. He didn't lose. But you can't build up anybody else like that. That kind of goes back to the Bill Goldberg thing of building stars that we didn't touch on. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, now when they try to build stars, everyone's just like, Who cares? Like he's undefeated. I don't care. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
You
Like,
aren't.
Braun
Yeah,
Strowman's
I got you.
undefeated. No one cares. But here's the thing though. The Wyatt family should have been huge. But this is like going to be like an analogy that I don't know if anybody's really going to get, but it kind of strikes home with me. Back in like 94, 93, 92, Image Comics was created. And I was a big Image
Oh,
Comics
okay.
person.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
So I jumped right into Image Comics because, I want to get my foot in the door. I haven't been around for Batman and Superman and Captain America and all that. But this is new. It's flashy. It's colorful. It's in your face. The girls are sexy. The guys are, identify like they're just badasses. So I'm like, all right, so I start getting the comics. So you take a comic like Youngblood, for instance, or actually it's even more relevant with a comic called like Bloodstrike or Gen 13 or something. And you have volume 1. It's a 4-issue miniseries. Okay. It's successful. It sells. They make a volume 2. It starts at number 1. It gets renumbered. Well, there came a point in time in Image Comics due to delays and because they were like the alternative. They were like the bad boys of the comic business. Deadlines started getting missed. People started leaving, getting fired, or whatever the reason. You'd have like 4 issues of volume 1. There'd be like 13 issues of volume 2. Volume 3 would have like 2 issues, story left, undecided. They'd come out with like, oh, it's coming back. Volume 4, renumbered issue number 1. It would have like 7 issues. Like, this is the Wyatt family in a nutshell. They keep debuting. They keep telling their story. Something happens along the way. The story is then like kind of dropped. It's rebooted. It starts over again. And we're in the same situation where it's like, okay, it's Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper doing the same things Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper did the last time Eric Rowan got hurt. Or was off TV or whatever the case may be, because I think he had a tricep thing at one time. So, it's all the same. It never evolves. You know what? Wyatt family should have been Sanity. They should have been these guys, 3 guys.
I wish that was a segue, but you're right. Go ahead.
Could have appeared out of nowhere at any point in time. They have a sister Abigail with them, whether it be ODB from TNA fame or something, someone who fits the part and just goes to town. I mean, even I bring her name up all the time, but Crazy Mary Dobson would fit the role perfectly of being this crazed woman along with the Wyatt family. Like, what's wrong with these people? What's wrong with this cult family or whatever the case may be? Instead, they're just like a group of 2 to 4 dudes that do the same thing all over again whenever there's like a recombination of them. They lose Eric Rowan, but they gain Luke Harper, so we're just going to do the Bray Wyatt Luke Harper thing again. It's silly. They need to kind of he needs to kind of just run roughshod over everybody. He needs to interrupt every single match on a SmackDown and be like, I'm Bray Wyatt. There's nothing you can do about it. And then just that propel him right into the main event where he wins the title. And then it's like, well, what do you do? Now this Psycho has the title. You can't stop him. You can't get near him. You can't touch him.
Right.
His family's surrounding him.
Well, and I don't know if you ever watched Talking Smack last week, but it seemed like they were going to give us more of that. And yeah, there's the whole casket match thing, but it's like you said, is this just, let's just redo all of Undertaker's gimmicks and not really come up with anything new? What's going on?
Well, I mean, listen, it was cool how they had Kane come out. I wasn't expecting that.
Sure.
Like as obvious as it probably was.
No.
I just wasn't expecting it. I got to move my mic a little bit. I hope it doesn't make a lot of noise. I have a piece of paper taped to my my desk, and it's flapping into the back of it because of the fan.
Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
I'm like, oh, man.
No, go ahead.
No, I didn't expect the Kane thing because as far as I'm concerned, I was already soured on the fact that Kane never even really existed in that match. It was a figment of Randy Orton's imagination.
I almost thought that Randy was going to come out and then they were going to replay the footage and it was going to be what you said.
It was going to be nobody there.
Or either nobody there or it was Harper standing there.
Dude, I was expecting.
Oh man, like when he came out and then he started talking about Bray really got in his head, I'm just like, oh man, are they gonna? Man, it'd be amazing if Larry was right. If they were really telling, they just
thank God,
just moving on.
Yeah, but just
moving
moving
on.
on, but doing the same old, same old. So that's why
Yeah.
like Orton and Luke and Bray Wyatt right now, or Orton and Sheamus in the bubble like 2 years ago, where like all they did was fight each other. And I know it's like only 2 months worth right now, but
Sure.
like, but neither is in contention for any title. They're just kind of like Cesaro and Sheamus, the best of 7 series. They're just kind of like, this is kind of the thing. And I guess that has to happen in wrestling because there's only so many title matches and so many feuds to have in the beginning. And this is the stepping stone, I guess, to who fights who next. Randy Orton
Yeah.
versus AJ Styles.
But
Probably, but I don't know. I need Bray Harper. I need Bray Wyatt to come out of this thing like a monster. And if not now, then it has to be in like the beginning of 2017, winning the Royal Rumble, and then just like
interesting.
destroying the world. Just like add a new member. I don't care if they're just a background friggin' rosebud at this point. Just he has to have this ensemble behind him to be that family, and not just like these two guys that we've seen for the last 4 years.
I'm as much as I'm sure a lot of people want the rosters to stay more intact. I'm kind of hoping Survivor Series is where we see some people jump ship, trade places, and that would be a good place for the Wyatt family to fully reunite and Braun to take his rep from there over to SmackDown and start destroying people.
I mean, I just think at this point in time that Braun Strowman's being groomed, like I said, to fight Roman Reigns for the U.S. title, which is fine.
Could be.
I have nothing against that, but he's also that big body.
Yeah.
And WWE likes those guys, and like they haven't had one in a while, and the big bodies that they have are relatively inactive. Big Show and Mark Henry, and getting up there in age. So they need the body. And Cass is kind of a body, but he's not like the force to be reckoned with. I think they have to
not
have.
Yet.
I think they just have to really force Big Cass in that role because he has the height, but he's not he doesn't look like a monster.
Yeah.
And Braun Strowman looks and plays the part, and I think that's why he's going to be single. Like he's going to be a singles wrestler and not part of the thing. But man, they missed the ball when they abducted the Undertaker and Kane. To have one, if not both of those guys come back as like part of the family.
Man, that would be crazy. That could have been crazy.
Talk about heat with the Undertaker. Talk about I mean, listen, I thought they missed the ball on Kane for like a year and a half as well in that situation, and in the situation where he was feuding with the Authority stuff, where he was kind of bickering and feuding with Seth Rollins as well. Yeah. I feel like Kane could have had like the title for a month and then hotshot it back to Seth, and I think it could have been like fun and successful. But
yeah, I thought they were doing that when they had their match. I thought Kane was actually going to win it, but then they just did the same old tired thing with Seth again, which seems to be the theme. But speaking of people that look like monsters who they've done everything right with,
can I tell you, you're talking about James Ellsworth, right?
Absolutely.
Can I tell you like the most unsung, underrated moment of that match?
What you got?
AJ Styles put Ellsworth in a chin lock, and Ellsworth just stood up and got right out of it and no sold it.
Yeah.
And they never even commented on it.
They missed it. Team. They missed it.
Like I think like 95% of the people watching just missed it. He put the dude in a chin lock, and Ellsworth would just like got up and got like right out of it. Like, what are you doing, dude? I have no chin.
I have no chin.
But then,
but where they didn't miss it though,
he kicked his chin off.
No, where they didn't miss it was he just hit him with no chin music.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe the best line that has ever come out of David Otunga's mouth ever.
No, but then even JBL had one in the middle of the match. AJ Styles just kicked his chin off.
Yeah.
But he no-sold that chin lock. It was the funniest moment in wrestling because the look on his face after he did it, he just stood up and he's like, "What's wrong with you, AJ?" It's just
what do you think you're doing?
Man, that was. And I tell you what,
it was really good.
If this was AJ Styles losing to like Kalisto like this, or like Jack Swagger, or even if I want to pull somebody over from Raw like Darren Young or Titus O'Neil, like we'd be irate. But this Ellsworth guy, man, he's got something
Yeah.
that it's just the way it's just him overall. I guess it's the way he looks. He looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, and how about this? This is what's brilliant about what's going on with Ellsworth. Was you think they're going to bring him in and it's just going to be this goofy little thing and they've strung it out. Well, what have they done in the process of stringing it out? What's a common complaint we have? And we even have it right now with a lot of the rest of the show. What's a common, or not so much on SmackDown, but we've kind of touched on it tonight. What's a common complaint we have about wrestling when there are titles involved?
That it's just the feuds are stale.
Stale. Yeah, and why is it stale though? Why is it stale?
Because we watch the same guys do the same thing,
the same match over and over and over. So what has this done? What has Ellsworth done? He's kept a rivalry and a feud going without the guys ever having to actually have a match with each other.
Right.
So now you've got 2 weeks in a row where Dean is still part of the title picture without actually having a match with AJ.
And Ellsworth is 2-1.
Yeah, exactly. And
by
the way,
he beat AJ Styles twice.
Yeah, and let's not. And I would be remiss to leave out the fact that Dean still inserted Cena back into the picture when he said the man who has beaten AJ Styles more than John Cena.
Yeah.
So Dean is still sticking it to Cena, still taking pot shots at Cena, even with him not on the show. So John Cena, without even being on the show, is still part of the title feud. Is still part of this triple threat of, as you've said a couple of weeks now, they're really the only main eventers you have on SmackDown at the moment, but they're keeping their rivalry fresh. You're getting AJ just irate, and he's still getting comeuppance after comeuppance after comeuppance, but he's still the champ. So yeah, it's honestly so I'm sure it's been done similar in the past, but it's just I don't think we've seen something
I don't know
like
about
this
the main event level though.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen like such a. I don't want to lavish too much praise on it, but it pretty much deserves it. Such a brilliant stall of the title picture that still keeps everyone engaged that should be engaged in it.
Maybe even more so, because what were you going to do? You're going to do another week to week thing with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose and mystery partners and AJ Styles and The Miz versus Ambrose and Ziggler. Like, there's only so many times you can just do this. So they bring in James Ellsworth. It's the dumbest idea in the world on paper. And it's like freaking gold on TV. Let me say this, though, first of all. Two things. One, Dean Ambrose is doing the head games better than the Wyatts right now on TV.
Truth.
So you have the Wyatts doing a head game gimmick, and then you have just Ambrose doing a head game gimmick as well. And it's just, he's infuriating AJ Styles, and then like it's just like, well, Randy Orton is winning matches too. So
and part of that is, you know, what we can say about AJ with all of his matches. Part of that is in AJ's sell, is in how he sells what Dean is doing.
Absolutely.
And it's just like matches with AJ. He makes everything believable. I mean, come on, that no chin music from Ellsworth may be one of the most dramatic super kick moments you've ever seen in wrestling. Like for me,
we're talking Barbershop, we're talking James Ellsworth as well.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's just like I mean, it's not "I'm sorry, I love you" level of super kick.
Oh, well, there's that one too. Yeah,
yeah, but which you know they all keep coming back to Sean, of course. But it's but still, it's just like it was sort of a shot heard round the world style super kick where, and to Dean's credit, like you said, Dean sold the crap out of that because Dean and Otunga and JBL, they all played their part in that, and once again Denver. I mean, just everything was just like that was such an amazing for Raw to be moments. That was such an amazing moment on SmackDown. But again, it's because of everything around it that it makes it even stronger. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I'm just like I'm on board with what you're saying because it's Dean is playing real mind games,
right? And just the whole thing is it's cast characters around them, and then you have Orton and Wyatt, and it's just like, well, it's head game versus head game. Well, just like who's winning? Well, nobody because they're both
right?
It's just like, well,
everyone's super, so no one is.
But here's my second thing, and let's call this a prediction. I already said that Bray Wyatt's going to win the Royal Rumble and then just run roughshod. That's kind of like gut heart, like kind of what I want to see, just because of the whole dynamic he's in right now. How about this one? James Ellsworth eliminates AJ Styles in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, but why would AJ be in it though?
Well, because he might not have the title come December, let's say.
Yeah, I guess John could have it by then, huh?
Well, let's just say that AJ Styles is in it. James Ellsworth eliminates.
Oh yeah, no, that's brilliant.
James Ellsworth is eliminating somebody in the Royal Rumble.
Sure, I think the more smart, friendly thing to do would be for him to eliminate himself in the process of, like, the clothesline over the top rope where you go with him type thing. But he.
No, just kind of like the sneak up behind, grab an ankle, and just lift the guy up, and then celebrate, and then turn around, and someone just throws you right over the outside the ring.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
Just bring it full circle. It's Braun. Braun throws him out.
There you go.
Yeah, bring it full circle, and Ellsworth is cheering and everything like that. And I mean, you maybe could even have him the only person in the ring, and then Braun's music plays, and we've come full circle on his arc. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's good. I feel Ellsworth earned a Royal Rumble appearance, a Royal Rumble payday, and I think he's going to get at least one elimination. Because listen, I read a lot of interviews. I read one interview with Ellsworth, and I did not know several parts of this. He's been working with the WWE on and off for a long time. He did like one thing with them back in the day, impress people, and every time WWE is in town, they contact him for like standby enhancement kind of stuff.
He was a hamburger rosebud.
Yeah, he was the hamburger in the rosebuds. He was, he's done other things before. He's just done a lot in backstage or whatever because
he's always signed on as an extra.
Absolutely.
Anytime they're within driving distance of him.
Yeah, so that was good stuff too. So overall, I enjoyed SmackDown, but then again, it was condensed 2 hours. It had a great ending. Like Raw's ending was good, but this had a wrestling ending, and it was pretty good. Spirit Squad, it's kind of interesting how Spirit Squad is going to get a title match over American Alpha, over all the other stuff. So they're making a big thing about their tag teams, and then it's like all right, let's bring in this other tag team to fight in this match.
Yeah,
it is kind of weird. Fight each other all the time anyway. So 8-man tag match on the pre-show probably. Well, they're going to have their Survivor Series match, so I can't say that there's going to be a Spirit Squad versus Rhino and
well, it does
Slater match, but it looks like it.
That does help though, because that puts all of your other, so you have the title match, but then you have all your other guys on the Survivor Series.
Yeah, well,
match.
I mean, they're going to need to fill. Yeah.
They all get to showcase their deal. So yeah,
they're going to need matches. They're going to need to fill the card, and I'd be surprised if there weren't a couple of title matches on the docket. Maybe even AJ Styles versus Ambrose. I don't know, but they need their top guys for these other matches. But we'll see. We'll see how it forms. We'll see when because I expect that people will start being named within like this week, maybe.
Yeah,
like guys being signed on, or just be like, this person will be competing on this team for whatever. Let's talk NXT.
Well, I mean, speaking of tag teams, Larry, can you handle this?
Well, I mean, I just want to talk about Nikki Cross's forearm to Eric Young's face for like an hour. Can we do that?
But can you handle this, Larry?
I'm just
You're supposed
not
to say
doing it.
no way, Jose. Come on.
I understand what I'm
It was
supposed to say.
it was a great opening. It was a great opening to the show. Great match. Great
Well,
match.
yeah, it was a good match. Drew, like I say, Nice and Gulak, like, just out of the park.
Yeah.
By the way, I called Roderick Strong being Austin Aries' partner months ago. But
Sure.
I also said it last week, but I am hoping I said it before they taped this match.
So people don't think you were
like,
just reading off the screen and pretending you didn't know.
Right, because I asked you, and you're like, I know. So I guess it was taped already, or it's just you read rumors.
It was only taped. It was like 2 weeks ago. So
yeah,
but I'm like, you said it before 2 weeks ago, then you nailed it.
You didn't know who his partner would be. I think you knew who Sanity was. So I said, all right, well, it's either going to be Eric Young or Roderick Strong, because I've been saying this with Aries for a while. You team him with Rude, you team him with Strong, you team with Eric Young. Those are three guys he has a history with in various groups, Team Canada or what were they called? Dirty Heels, and him and Aries and Roderick Strong were Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions as well.
And man, were they good! But
did they put
shout out to
over?
Shout out to frickin' Otis and Tucker. Holy crap!
They did the full sell job for these guys.
Yeah.
And it was friggin' amazing.
Well, and they were and they had a great energy too. I mean, they really, like, yeah, you had the ring generals of Aries and Strong just making the other guys look like $1 million, but the other guys did their part too. They didn't just they weren't just, okay, let me stand here and wait for him to come to me. I mean, they really made things extremely believable. There was only a couple of times where I kind of saw through something Otis was doing as the guy who was kind of the first on TV, or his first time on TV, but Tucker had a charisma about him. Tucker Knight had a charisma about him that I don't know that I think we've seen it before, but when he was with Hugo Knox, it I don't know, it's just like it didn't seem like they gelled, which apparently Hugo Knox doesn't really gel with anybody at NXT anymore, but yeah, it's
did there.
Yeah. but yeah, I loved everything about that match, and I love that they didn't say it, and I hope this is what they call it, but he did his woo woo, he did his train into the corner, and what's his last name?
Knight.
So it's the Night Train. It's great. It's easy. So
it is pretty easy.
Yeah.
It is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Bobby Roode, Ty Dillinger stuff kind of went too fast tracked for me.
It was fast tracked, but rose colored glasses, but I watched this a couple of times and I'm like, man, those guys were throwing some potatoes.
Oh, they would. I'm not taking away from any part of it, except for the fact that like the whole storyline was so accelerated.
Yeah.
I couldn't really enjoy it. Like I couldn't savor it. I'm enjoying it. I couldn't really
But I mean, we're 5 weeks away, so they can still build it some more. But you're right. It did come to a head really fast.
It's like week 1, we're good a team, buddy. Week 2, I'm out of here. Leave you for yourself. Week 3, we're having a match. Like segment 1, we're having a match. Segment 2, Bobby and Rudy is in the ring talking about the match.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you signed this match already? Do you want to drag this out a little bit? Do you want to say no, you're not going to have a match and kind of like sucker him into it kind of deal? Can we get Regal involved and stuff like that? But no.
But I've never been one who necessarily cared about how people throw punches that much in wrestling. But man, those punches were believable. Man, like on both sides. I mean, it looked like a freaking brawl. It was.
They had passion.
Yeah,
and
it was great.
It was really good. Speaking of punches, Nikki Cross laid out Eric Young.
Yeah, and then he laughed it off.
I know, it was so good. She's so good. And then I had to watch
I think she overdid it very intentionally.
She overdid it the whole time.
Yeah. But I think someone told her, go out and act like a rabid dog, and she said, okay.
I think at one point she had she had to start smacking herself in the face, and then forgot to work it in, and then just started doing it. where it was kind of like out of like a little bit out of place, like she's ready to pin Danielle, and then she just like starts smacking her. It's
Yeah.
like, oh crap, I forgot to do this, and she starts smacking herself in the face.
Well,
And then
she did the whole she did the itchy thing, like she was scratching at fleas or something like that at one point, and then like some of it like it was rabid dog, and then there was the whole slapping herself in the face, which didn't really fit, but it's probably because of what you said, where she's just like, I was supposed to do something like this. I guess now's as good a time as any.
And I love when I forget who it is picked her up with like one arm.
Oh gosh, I have Tucker Knight on the brain, and so it.
Yeah, I have Tucker Knight on the brain too. I know.
God, what's his name? I know his name, but it's just not coming to me.
Yeah, it was. It's. Oh man, I don't even know his name anymore. But,
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. I started playing music. It's going to come up on my end in case you need my audio.
That'd be great.
Yeah, just pick them up, and then like she's just so good. And then like they're leaving the ring, she just decides to jump on his back. She's so good, but she's so out of place in that kind of like character. I had to watch like 2 matches of hers after the fact when she was like cute, like ignorant Nikki Storm, like oblivious to the world, like she was living in her own world as like the biggest Backstreet Boys fan in the world, great in the galaxy. But she was so good in that character, yelling at the ring announcer because he couldn't say Glasgow right.
Yeah.
So good. And then but I have this, and I have to grow into liking this because
Sawyer
Tucker.
Yeah. Wait. No.
Tucker Fulton.
Yeah.
Sawyer Fulton.
Sawyer
Fulton.
Sawyer Fulton.
There you go. He picks her up and she just starts. Yeah. Just they need
and
more.
By the way, I saw someone say this, and I'm like, wow, that kind of echoes my sentiment. Sawyer Fulton. Holy crap, dude! I saw someone say, I never thought I would see a gimmick that Sawyer Fulton's look would actually fit, and now here it is.
Well, we say this all the time, and I guess like Ty Dillinger is now the poster boy for this. It's like they can do something with everybody,
sure.
And they have to. They just you have a guy that just like kind of turns in mediocrity for years and years and years, and then like he becomes Jason Jordan.
Sure.
In American Alpha, it just fit. It worked. And then you had the perfect 10 for Ty Dillinger. It fit. It worked. You're going to see that with Tucker Knight. You're going to see that with Sawyer Fulton.
Yeah.
You may not see it with who's the Marine guy or the Navy guy that they just really recently had on TV.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks in a row, and it was kind of like, what was this guy again? What's that?
I'm trying to remember his name. Man,
I'm gonna remember his name, but like it just didn't work with him. But he might get repackaged, and he might come back as a little bit of a different variation of the person he was, and it may work next time. So I'll grab his name in a second. Is there anything that stood out to you?
I mean, we've touched on most of it. Then there was the Samoa Joe Nakamura feud continuing. I thought Patrick Clark's insertion as fake Prince was pretty funny. And,
I guess,
and I use insertion unironically there. So
I don't want to say this, categorize him or anything. This might be the introduction of the gay, bisexual, lesbian character that we were talking about, that they were openly saying they were going to include into their product.
And it's exactly what we expected of WWE, to just be not subtle or nuanced about it at all.
No,
if that's what it is, then.
But at the same time, if they're going more of a Prince angle than like a I don't know, like full on stereotypical like gay character, then I'm on board with it. Steve Cutler, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm on board with it because it's flashy, it's funny. It's like everyone has a soft spot for Prince. He kind of towed the line of being, 1 foot and one, both sides of the plate, let's say, is better analogy. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. And I will say, I'll give
Angelo Dawkins is another one that fits that role.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
you're just stirring the pot on that one, but
wow,
yeah, I know.
That one flew right over my 2 headbands.
Fantastic. I will say another shout out to Patrick Clark though for just running with whatever gimmick they give him. They're like, America Pants. Okay, that's what you do for the next 2 weeks. Okay, I'll do America Pants. Okay, Prince. Okay, I'll do Prince. You know,
Hey,
and he's this tall, good-looking kid that they've shown that combine stuff from NXT. He's strong as a freaking ox. Like
and where have we heard that kind of pattern before? Hey, go out there, do a jig, embrace your Irish heritage. Go out there and be a headbanger. And you know what? Go out there and be steampunk.
Oh,
and by the way, go out there and win the like SmackDown Women's title.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You know, so there's another like NXT.
Don't say no, and eventually you'll strike gold. Is
NXT
sort of the
just finds
idea.
A way to make somebody instead of like a swing and a miss, it's like, well, you know what? Let's just take a step back. Let's look what we have. We have talent. What if we did this? And then they just go back out there, reboot, and things work. Jason Jordan, Tyler Breeze, I guess, was always kind of the one. Ty Dillinger, Becky Lynch, it's just. And then now you're talking about these new guys, Sawyer Fulton and Tucker Knight.
Well, Tyler Breeze, he was Mike Dalton first. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. He was Mike Dalton first with Ty Dillinger. They were tag team together. They beat Primo and Epico, and it was the biggest upset in NXT history at the time because they beat main roster talent.
Yeah.
So, but then he was still just Mike Dalton until he came out as Tyler Breeze. So they just find a way to just do that, and that's what development's good for. And instead of just being on the main roster and a gimmick just falling flat, and it's just like, all right, well, we wish you well in your future endeavors. We're not even going to try anymore.
Yeah.
Or we're just going to keep you off TV for 3.5 years until we wish you well in your future endeavors.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it just works so well. But
NXT hit a lot of high points this week.
Doesn't it always?
Yeah, but we've had those times where okay, we're in a rebuilding phase, and
that was the Steve Cutler, Angelo Dawkins weeks.
I know, but it's wild that was just a couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago,
and now we're like, man, there was a high point in every segment of NXT. That was fantastic. The ladies segment was
just beating the crap out of Liv Morgan was good.
Yeah.
Nikki Cross just beating the crap out of Danielle Camella was even better. Yeah. I mean, listen, Nikki Cross being the most psychotic of that group is just awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The only one who's throwing punches.
I mean, she's really scrappy do, but she actually they actually let her fight, because the joke with Scrappy Doo was always they won't let him fight, and then the one or two times he actually got into a fight, he won. And this is the reverse Scrappy Doo, where they don't have her on a leash. They have to pull her off of people as opposed to hold her back. So yeah.
I mean, what would happen if Nikki Cross just went nuts on a Steve Blackman on the other side of the ring?
Oh, you got him in. You got him in this week.
I've been so bad with that though.
You really have.
Listen. I'm listening. I've dropped this name more than Steve Blackman, and I think on this podcast as well. Crazy Mary Dobson has found her way to developmental.
Yeah, actually signed now. Also, Tommy End actually signed. Also, Big Damo or Big Damo, however you say it.
So that's promising. I don't necessarily know that I was totally convinced of Crazy Mary Dobson, because I don't really see how she embraced the crazy part of her name in any match I've ever seen her in. But that might be because it's shimmer and shine. And from what I read about her, she comes from more of a hardcore indie promotion type setting. So she may be tamer when she was in Ring of Honor on the Women of Honor specials, or when she was in Shimmer or Shine, just because that's the product they have and there's no need for that.
Yeah.
But then when you have the hardcore stuff, they would she might have earned the crazy title in her name in those promotions. I just don't know.
Sure.
I just haven't watched. I'm interested in knowing though, knowing where she came from. So. But that's it's pretty much it. Hey, listen, what's your favorite Ace of Base song, by the way?
I mean, I Saw the Sign is the first thing you think of, right? But
yeah, I mean, they had Cruel Summer, the cover from Bananarama.
Yeah.
All That She Wants, Living in Danger is another song. What's the?
There's another song. It was
Oh, I
more
know
of a
them all.
ballad. It was more of a ballad that I liked. Like it.
Beautiful Life.
No, I don't know. Oh yeah, no, that's not a
Don't
ballad.
Turn Around.
That's not a ballad either. But that may have been the song I was
Living in
thinking
Danger
of.
is a little bit of a ballad.
Don't Turn Around may have been the song I was thinking of. But I'm not going to turn around on this close so you can't stall us again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I'm the Duke. He's Larry. And let's see if he's got anything for us this week.
I have a new headset. Want to hear about it?